One of the best footballers alive is also one of the most hated. An entire country gets called rude for the exact same reason he gets called arrogant. And the French novel from 1942 already explained why both of those things keep happening. That's what we are talking about today. Welcome to Rachelle, mais, français, the podcast version. For those of you who found me here first, I'm Rachel. This is normally where I talk about French culture, language learning, and honestly, a lot of personal growth threaded through both of those. If that's new to you, stick around. Today's episode is a bit of a special one, but it's very much still that. So, a few days ago, I put on a YouTube video connecting Kylian Mbappé, of all people, to L'étranger, one of the most famous French novels ever written. The short version, he's one of the most hated great footballers alive. And I made the case that it's not really about football at all. It's about what happens to people and to entire cultures when they refuse to perform emotions they don't actually feel. This episode is an extended version. If you've seen the video, I'm not going to repeat the whole argument. I'm going somewhere new with it. If you haven't seen it yet, no worries. You don't need to queue up right now. Just add it to the list for after because the visuals actually make a few of these moments land even harder. What we're doing here is picking up where that video left off. The tension between being authentic and meeting the expectations everyone around you has already agreed to. That tension shows up in how a footballer's confidence gets read, in how an entire country gets stereotyped, and, if I'm honest, in my own life more times than I'd like to admit. That's what we are getting into today. Let's start with Mbappé briefly, just to set the scene, and I promise this isn't going to turn into a football history lesson. So, quick version of the PSG breakup, because it was messy. He told the club he wasn't renewing his contract and PSG basically benched him for it, trained him separately, left him off a pre-season trip, the whole cold shoulder treatment. He didn't budge, reportedly turned down something like 300 million euros from a Saudi club because he wanted Real Madrid and nothing else. And when he finally played his last home game after literally being the club's all-time top scorer, some of his own fans boo him on the way out. He's since taken PSG to court over unpaid wages, and the headlines version of all this everywhere was some flavor of difficult, entitled, a guy who thinks he's bigger than the club. Then there's the ongoing thing with the French Federation. This one's honestly wild because it's been running since 2022 and is still going. He's refused more than once to let his image be used in gambling and fast food ads. And it's not just the vibe things. He's actually said on a French TV that people from his kind of neighborhood have had their lives wrecked by exactly that stuff. So it's personal for him. His teammates backed him publicly. The federation actually changed its policy because of it. And yet every single time this comes back up. And it keeps coming back up. The coverage is the same. Mbappé is causing trouble again. And here's what gets me about both of these. He's not actually being unreasonable in either story. He's owed money, or he's declining to promote something he has a real personal reason to object to. The only crime is that he doesn't just quietly go along with it. He holds his ground out loud in public instead of settling it politely behind closed doors like everyone's supposed to. So, same question as the video, just zoomed out. Is that arrogance? Or is it the exact same pattern just playing out over years and contracts instead of over 90 minutes of football games? Okay, so in the YouTube video I told you about the conversation I keep having, someone finds out I love French culture and almost immediately said, "Oh, I went to France once and everyone was so rude to me." I gave you the short version there. I want to actually sit in this one for a while because I think it's the clearest version of everything we've been talking about, just at the scale of an entire country instead of one guy. Here's a few I didn't tell in the video. People say service staff aren't friendly, but honestly, you get treated exactly how you show up. Be a difficult customer, you feel it. I've heard so many times about the comment that the French are not welcoming unless you speak French to them. So this one is very constantly, which fair, but I don't think that's unfriendliness. I think that's just a country that doesn't owe you English, isn't it? And yes, people complain the streets are dirty, which sure, big cities are big cities, to be honest. London are very dirty as well. Well, no offense, but two stories actually say the most, I think. The first one, I once put money into a coffee vending machine. My mug was the wrong size, it got stuck, the machine broke, and the shopkeeper's response was basically like, that's on you, you used the wrong mug. I have a poster here telling you not to, and so there's no refund, this is what it is. So, no apology, no softening, just the facts, and stated plainly. And I remember being genuinely offended in the moment by how blunt it was. But nobody lied to me. Nobody pretended the situation was different than it was just to make me feel better. And the second one is from years earlier when I was on a university exchange in France. My hostel didn't have Wi-Fi set up yet, and I went to the receptionist asking for help, and the answer was like, essentially, can't help is can't help. This is what it is. No urgency, no things like, let me see what I can do. No promise to sort it out by the end of the day, and I still remember how much that clashed with what I was used to in Hong Kong or like in Japan. If you complain or ask for help, there is this unspoken rule that the person has to find some way to solve it to make sure you leave happy. But in France, if the honest answer is there's nothing I can do right now, that's just what you get. No performance of efforts to make you feel better about it. And here's the thing about where this stereotype actually seems to come from, as far as I can tell. Almost nobody forms their opinion of French people from a French friend, a French co-worker, a French neighbor, and they form it from a few days as a tourist and mostly interacting with people whose job is customer service under pressure, which, by the way, is one of the most thankless jobs on earth anywhere in the world. Add the language barrier, add the fact that French directness just sounds different than the let me find a way to make this right service culture a lot of us, including myself, coming from Hong Kong, grew up expecting, and you get a stereotype built entirely out of the most transactional, least representative interactions a culture can offer. Because once you actually inside it, once you live there, learn the language, have actual friendships instead of transactions, the exact same directness reads completely differently. It's not coldness, it's that nobody's performing a customer service version of themselves for you because you're not a customer anymore. You're just someone they know. And once you're on the other side of that line, the bluntness stops feeling like rejection and starts feeling like respect. They're not managing you, they're just being honest with you, the same way they'd be honest with each other. So tourist experience gets you the stereotype, lived experience gets you something closer to the truth, and nobody who only ever has the first one gets to see the second one exists, which is exactly why the stereotype never really updates. Okay, so I've spent this whole episode and the whole video basically making the case that unfiltered authenticity gets unfairly punished. But I want to be honest about the other side of this, because I don't think just be yourself, don't perform anything is actually good advice, full stop. And if I don't push back on my own argument here, I don't think this episode's earned its own existence. Here's the real tension. Society rewarding people who read the room isn't only unfair gatekeeping, some of that is just how functioning groups of people work. If nobody adjusted their behavior for context at all, that's not authenticity. That's just not being able to read the room, and that actually does cause real harm sometimes. to relationships, to teams, to communities. So the question isn't, should we ever perform anything? Because the honest answer is probably yes, sometimes. The real question is, where's the actual line between authenticity that just makes people uncomfortable because it's unfamiliar, and authenticity that's genuinely inconsiderate? I'll go first. There was a period at work where I kept agreeing to take on things I genuinely had no interest in doing. And not just agreeing, but performing enthusiasm about it. Smiling, saying yes, acting like it was a great opportunity, when inside I felt completely flat about it. And there were moments I actually felt offended or overlooked, and I still kept smiling through it because that felt like the professional thing to do. It took me a long time to realize that wasn't politeness. That was just me not setting a boundary. And every time I performed enthusiasm I didn't feel, I was quietly teaching people that my yes didn't mean anything, because I said it to everything. I think about Mbappé again here, actually, because he's a useful test case. Not the laugh this time, but everything else we talked about earlier. Standing his ground on wages he was owed, refusing to have his face used in ads he had real objection to, and saying so publicly instead of quietly going along with it. Talking about his own ability without the usual self-deprecating hedge athletes are supposed to perform. None of that is authenticity that costs anyone else anything. It's just someone refusing to shrink his own confidence down to a size other people find comfortable. Compare that to, say, someone being authentically rude to a waiter or authentically blunt in a way that's really just cruelty with the permission slip attached. That's not the same category of thing. Even though both get offended with the same word, that's just who I am. So here's where I actually draw the line for what it's worth. The test isn't whether something was performed or not, it's whether the unfiltered version cost someone else something real. Mbappé being confident and vocal about his own ability or refusing to quietly eat an unfair situation costs nobody anything. It just doesn't flatter the people who'd prefer he stayed quiet about it. French directness most of the time causes tourists a moment of discomfort, not an actual harm. Meursault in the book, not crying at the funeral, costs literally nobody anything except the comfort of people watching him. And honestly, if you haven't read L'Étranger, that's the point where I'll tell you to just go grab it. It's short and it will change how you see the whole episode. Links in the description if you want it. Anyway, in every one of these cases, what's actually being punished isn't harm. It's the discomfort of watching someone not perform for an audience. That's different from someone being inconsiderate on purpose and hiding behind authenticity to excuse it. So I'll leave you with the same question I've been sitting with while making both the video and this episode. Think of a time you choose being liked over being yourself. Not a big moment necessarily, could be as small as laughing at a joke you didn't find funny, or agreeing with something you didn't actually believe, just to keep things smooth. What did it cost you to do that? And knowing what you know now, would you make the same choice again? I don't think there's a clean answer. I don't think I have one either. But I think it's worth actually asking yourself rather than assuming the answer is obviously just always be authentic. Because I don't actually believe that's always true. That's this episode. If any part of this, like the Mbappé stuff, the France stuff, or the last question got you thinking, I would genuinely love to hear about it. Come find me in the comments, or better yet, reply to this week's newsletter because I actually read those. If you haven't caught the original YouTube video yet, it's linked below. The visuals do a lot of work, the audio versions can't. And if you want more of this, French learning tips, cultural notes, the kind of things I can't always fit into an episode, that's exactly what the newsletter's for. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next Tuesday.